Hey Scorpio, welcome to June 2020. I'm pulling from the Modern Witch Tarot. I pulled your cards, I was doing a reading, and then my dog started flipping out about the mail, so I got distracted, and I'm going to start over. You got a bunch of major arcana, and then some not major arcana. So I was going to kind of break it up into overarching themes with the major arcana, and then your minor arcana. So we got the World in reverse, we got Temperance, we got the Magician, we got the Star in reverse, we got the Moon, and we got the Tower. So, what I was saying before about your reading is, this is a very Scorpio month. Very much about, death, rebirth, transformation, which is, your MO. It's what you deal with, all the time. I was saying earlier, this reading would be, if you're Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was, reading your cards, and I was like, this month you're gonna be slaying vampires, and you're probably gonna have to destroy, some ancient evil force that's, trying to destroy the world, and you'd be like, yeah, I know, that's, every day for me, that's my life, I didn't need your tarot reading to tell me what I already do for a living. So, I feel like that is, my disclaimer. This month is not anything particularly new in the sense of, you've dealt with these emotions, you've dealt with these patterns, you do this kind of work all the time, because this, especially with the Tower and the Moon, has a lot to do with your subconscious mind, and, exploring the subconscious mind and going to your own depths is, literally what you do, just, on a, Wednesday afternoon for fun sometimes. So don't be, freaked out by the Tower is what I'm trying to say, but the Tower, of course, is about, destroying either illusions, structures, old patterns, or kind of, habits, or, whatever wasn't, working that we were, trying to... It's your House of Cards. Actually, if I ever did, a tarot deck, maybe this would be, a House of Cards falling. Because it's, it's sort of if something is falling, it was meant to fall, and it wasn't stable, and so I don't think we should, kid ourselves when these kinds of things happen, per se. This card also reminds me of the Midnight Gospel, one particular episode, which was regarding the Bardo, and, the death rebirth process, and, Tibetan Buddhism, and... which also reminds me of Groundhog Day, kind of how we repeat lessons and cycles in these karmic loops until we kind of get our ways out of them. So it's part of the reason this Tower moment is happening is just to show you where that pattern is happening, and maybe the universe is trying to kind of help you a little bit. I would see this more as kind of someone stepping in to help you. This is a terrible example, but it would be if you had a crush and someone told you that your crush was dating someone else, which happened to me, but it was a Tower moment of sorts. It's but also very liberating in that I'm okay, I don't have to hang on to the illusion I was fostering that this was my person. I can kind of free myself. So there's a liberation also with this of kind of maybe, especially we got over here in the minor arcana, we got the Four of Cups, and this is her being so caught up in a fantasy that she's not able to really dig these three cups, and her shirt says over it, which I think is very helpful for this deck. I appreciate that they did that. So yeah, she's just kind of there's this dissatisfaction, and I think this also has to do with perspective and also just our emotions. I mean, emotions regarding attachment, how we can kind of have an idea about what's going to make us happy, and then it's not, and we get disappointed, oh, is life always going to let me down in this way? But with the Moon too coming up, I think it's this is an opportunity to look at where in our because this Moon card is crazy, right? These girls are clearly in a cult. a moon cult, which I support, but then there's also this, like, crazy, like, you know, shadow lady. So, I mean, I would almost view the moon card in this deck as, like, okay, where are we, like, denying ourselves some kind of clarity only because it feels like the illusion is a comfort zone. I mean, I don't know if this card always means that, but, like, right now I'm feeling kind of like this is an opportunity for you, Scorpio, to be a little bit frank and honest with yourself about your own patterns. And I just want to say, though, too, with, like, Temperance, and the King of Cups, and here we have the Five of Cups in reverse. I feel like there's also, like, anesthesia is kind of what I want to say. Like, this is your psychic surgery that you're doing on yourself, basically. Where you're becoming frank and honest about even your own... Because, like, I know you as an intense Scorpio sign who's, like, not afraid of going to the depths can be, like, pretty cool about facing the darkness. But it's not so much about your bravery in this case as much as it is about, like, where did you keep the illusions up because maybe you just didn't want to change, or because you were addicted in some way, or it was just sort of like, I don't know. I guess I don't feel like what you're avoiding has to do with fear exactly. I think, because it feels more, again, like a karmic loop or a karmic cycle. It actually might be something that you've been wanting to solve for a really long time. You're like, God, I know I have this one little kind of, like, issue, but it totally eludes me why I continue this behavior that I know doesn't serve me. So, for example, like, emotional unavailability, right? You're like, I know for a fact that I'm emotionally choose unavailable partners, and that I like a fantasy because I like the distance it creates. So, like, you've done all this psychoanalyzing on yourself, but you don't know why, even though you have all this, like, intellectual understanding about your own patterns that you don't really, that aren't, like, good structures. You don't know how, like, you can't, like, find this girl, like, right? Like, you can't find your own shadow. And it's kind of like that. Like, every time you, like, turn around and look at your shadow, like, your shadow's gone. So it's like, you know it's there, but, like, for some reason it's eluding you. So with this energy, I kind of felt like there is a little bit of, like, and, like, actually that echoes, I think, with the Star card in reverse, which is, like, I think this is, like, a process of you want to heal. You want to just get to the root of it. You want to get to the bottom of it. You're willing to go, like, face your fears. Like, you're willing to enter, you're like, I will go into the haunted house of my own mind, and I just want to get to the bottom of it. But every time you try to, like, find the haunted house, previously, you can't even find the door to get in, to, like, where you're gonna be able to, like, go through the maze to solve your own things that have been kind of, like, hang-ups for maybe a really long time, maybe years. So again, with this, I feel like the universe is stepping in and saying, like, okay, you want to go there? Like, let's go there. And then, so then, you're kind of doing this, like, again, I called it earlier, psychic surgery on yourself. This is you being you, and, like, mastering your emotions, and not being afraid of your own depths, and not being afraid to go there, and just, like, being the king of your own mind, being the king of, like, I'm going to own my destiny. I'm going to, you know, do my psychological healing. I'm gonna be, like, the badassiest Scorpio I ever could possibly be. Like, I'm gonna really embrace my Scorpio-ness and, like, be fearless. Like, that's kind of what I feel like with this. But fearless in an emotional sense. Like, fearless in, like, not letting your fear stop you, and, like, really also kind of like being very magnanimous and compassionate with yourself. Temperance and Five of Cups reverse. I feel like as you do this process, there is again, like a psychic balm, an aloe vera, an anesthesia, something that is making it really kind of calm and peaceful for you to be able to face some prior grief and let it go, to integrate your shadow side, and to kind of like have this like like really like becoming whole. Yeah, I just feel like with this energy, there's a support, and maybe it's coming from you being the King of Cups, right? It's like going into that haunted house with like a flashlight and maybe something else, but like you're just really prepared. And so when the universe like is like, hey, do you want to like go on this crazy ride to like get to the bottom of everything that's been kind of eluding you in terms of like what is psychologically blocking you? Are you ready to face that tower moment in like kind of a badass way? And you're like, yeah. And then at the same time, you have like kind of this perhaps divine angelic support alongside you that's really making it not too painful. That's why I said anesthesia. Like, I just don't feel like there's like a lot of like pain, even if you're dealing with past pain. Not a lot. Okay. The Magician in reverse, Page of Pentacles in reverse, Four of Wands in reverse, Nine of Wands in reverse, and the World. So what I just want to say about this is that this feels like maybe you trying to rush to the happy ending. Like, this is June, right? And you're like, I think the thing is about psychic surgery, or about any surgery, after you have it, you have to recover. So, I think what you kind of expect on some level is that you're gonna, like, get to the bottom of this, whatever it is for you, whatever this psychological block or, like, ongoing karmic cycle is. You're like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it, and then bam, my life is gonna magically transform into this magical thing that, like, is the beautiful, like, life of my dreams that I always wanted. And I just want to say with the World in reverse, it's like, yes and no. Like, yes, that'll happen, but like also it'll take time and it won't be immediate. There will be like some more to go, mostly just kind of like processing and integrating, more of that integrating with the Temperance, right? Like kind of letting yourself digest and just take it easy. I mean, if you literally did just save the world, or just saved yourself, you know, you maybe did, even if you had anesthesia, maybe your mind, body, soul just still went through a lot. So I feel like there's just something about like honoring that process of like, this is a really intensive thing that you're going through this month, and so be patient with the amount of like energy it requires from you, and the amount of like if you're feeling really tired and like you just want to sleep all the time, like I just say do that. And don't worry about what that means. Because we also got the Magician, the Page of Pentacles, and the Four of Wands, and this really speaks to me too of like just that you're like, okay, I want to go manifest now, and it's like, no bitch, you don't need to manifest right this second. You just, it's like kind of like, or like if it were about dating, right? Like you had some emotionally unavailable pattern and you were like, oh, I figured out that's the thing. It was blah, blah, blah. I know that I'm going to be able to welcome love in my life now. But it's like, don't try to get into that next relationship right away. Take some time to be, like, it's just kind of saying to me, like, don't, with all of this, it's like, yes, it's there for you, the manifesting, the happy ending, like, the life of your dreams, the, like, stability, and, like, the like, happiness, and, like, it's like, your happy ending is on your horizon, but I think you're trying with this to just rush a little bit towards it, and putting maybe some pressure on yourself as well. Page of Pentacles, this is, like, maybe wanting to start a new project, and I think that to speak to creativity for a second, it's like maybe you have this like great idea for a story that you want to tell, right? But and you see it as like sort of like the thing that you need to do with your life, like this is your calling, but you also just did all this deep transcendent work to even, you know, be able to have kind of the inspiration to do it. And I think it's just sort of like you just discovered this like inner treasure that you have, but it's sort of like don't like take time to get to know your own gifts that you just uncovered or your own revelations. Take time to sit with yourself before you try to like spin this into gold for other people, right? Or kind of like to bring it to the hero's journey, you know, like the hero goes and gets the elixir and then they bring it back to the community. But I think this is kind of like, okay, if you just got the elixir, then you don't need to immediately like go run and like hand it out to everyone. Like what you can do is sort of like get to know this elixir yourself and understand what you can do with it on it. Because like if you just rush into manifesting, you rush into your happy ending, or you rush into starting a new project towards the stability, you might miss something. And then you might create another one of those towers that have a faulty foundation that like ends up coming down. So I think this is just saying like to build your new stability and to be really like, you know, happy, like take your time integrating, because a lot of this is about integrating. Take your time processing. Yes, there will be a time for manifesting. Yes, there will be a time for like happy endings and revelations and new projects and new beginnings and new stability. But like that is indeed just something that requires a little more patience. Not necessarily more work, but more patience and more probably self-care, I'm guessing. Because you just, it's a big time, it's a big month in a really positive, great way. But, yeah, like I think after you've finished a really big chapter and cycle, it's important to kind of, yeah, let that marinate a little bit. Let that sit with you. Let yourself really kind of process. I think processing is key. So that is my reading for you. I love you, and I'll see you again in July. Bye.